Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan. Time to take up this games with your time and bandwidth. Today's game is the Amnesia Collection. The series that birthed an entire generation of survival horror is now in one convenient collection. Are the Amnesia games still worth playing in current year? The Amnesia Collection is currently available on PC, Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation, so basically everything, and just dropped on Xbox Game Pass. Its MSRP is $30, though it usually goes on sale for much less, and each game has individual playtime, but to beat them all would take you around 10 to 12 hours. So what exactly is the Amnesia Collection? Well, it's a compilation of 3 horror experiences, the first 2 Amnesia games, as well as a small piece of DLC for the first game. And these are arguably responsible for an entire new generation of horror games, ranging from Outlast to PT to Resident Evil 7. Regardless, for this review, since they're all technically different games, I'm going to go over each of them individually. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is probably the most well-known for launching one particular YouTuber's career, as well as starring the genre of over-exaggerated screaming while playing horror games YouTube content. However, despite its reputation, this game is anything but cheap jump scares over its 4 to 6 hour playthrough. You are Daniel, who awakens in Brennenburg Castle with no memory of his past. Your goal is to explore the castle, solving light puzzles and reading notes to try and piece together exactly what happened here and Daniel's involvement in it, while also avoiding ever-growing otherworld corruption and a small number of roaming enemies. The game is the most mechanic-rich in this collection, particularly around the sanity meter. Standing in the dark or seeing horrifying things lowers Daniel's sanity, which at best will cause him to see spooky things that aren't there, and at worst will cause him to keel over temporarily, making him exposed to enemies. To keep this at bay, you'll have both a lantern and matchboxes, which can be used to strategically light pathways, as your lantern's oil is limited. The game is separated into around 5 hub zones with smaller side areas to explore that all feed into one larger puzzle area that will get you into the next hub. There are enemies in the game, though they're pretty stupid should you crouch in the dark to hide from them, and you have no means of fighting back, so hiding is the main strategy here, which is the same across all the Amnesia games. And that's enough on The Dark Descent. Next, Justine is a 30-minute long DLC companion to The Dark Descent where you solve 3 puzzle rooms with no saving, and that's basically it. It's fine, but the lack of saving means if you mess up, you start from the beginning, which sucks. And lastly, A Machine for Pigs is the Dark Souls 2 of the franchise, as it was designed by a different developer and is much more of a walking simulator than the other games. You will have unlimited light, and there is no sanity meter. While there are enemies, they're just as dumb as in the previous games, and the game is also not even remotely scary, meaning you will be playing most of it for its story across its 4-hour experience. All of these games have a heavy emphasis on both their stories and their adventure game style light puzzle solving, paired with using darkness to hide secrets and spooks. And that's basically the gist of all 3. Spooky exploration games with puzzles being the main gameplay, and hiding from beasties being there too, I guess. So what do I like about the Amnesia Collection? Well, the writing across all 3 games is fantastic, paired with some exceptionally good voice acting that makes the entire experience pulled together very well. Additionally, the puzzles, particularly in The Dark Descent, are very well designed and manage to strike that great balance between just tricky enough to make you think, but never being too frustrating. And lastly, I found that the atmosphere across all these games still holds up very well today, despite the dated graphics and some of the mechanics being old. When it comes to the bad, the defenseless enemy dodging mechanics, while novel at the time, feel quite dated and honestly are more of a frustration to exploration rather than any real horror now. Additionally, on a controller, some of the controls do feel a bit wonky, and it took me a while to get used to them. It is very clear these games were originally designed for mouse and keyboard. And lastly, your mileage may vary when it comes to these games being scary. I found them to be a nice, light, spooky experience, but nothing too stressful, as they generally have minimal jump scares and focus more on an ambiance, which may or may not be your thing. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale. Must play, maybe consider, don't bother. I think that the Amnesia games are absolutely still worth playing. They have aged surprisingly well, mostly due to their engaging writing and solid atmosphere throughout, making all 3 excellent bite-sized horror experiences. This was actually the first time I played through any of these games, and even in 2022, I found them to be very, very engaging. If I had to pick a best one, it would easily be The Dark Descent, though I actually really did enjoy A Machine for Pigs more than I thought I would, considering its conflicted reputation. Regardless, if you're in the mood for some games that are spooky in a fun way and have some great writing and atmosphere, absolutely go check the Amnesia games out. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played these Amnesia games, did you play them back in the day? Are you going to check them out now? Please let me know in the comments, but regardless, go out there and get yourself spooked.